Hello, and welcome to our very first episode of Life After Landing. I will be your host, Kelly Williams. I'm also the founder of UpRow. And today, this is a very important moment for us because it's the first time we're streaming live over on our UpRow app Instagram page. And I'm seeing that we have a fair amount, 9 persons in the room of an UpRow app. Big up on yourself. Welcome. And this is our very first episode, all right? I hope you're all excited. On this episode, what we plan to do is interview immigrants who have landed, talking about their different experiences and life as a newcomer and sometimes an old comer in Canada as an immigrant, right? So we're going to hear a variety of experiences from a variety of immigrants from all over the world who have found their life in Canada. What we hope to do is give a true version of what it means to be a newcomer, the good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between, not holding anything back. And I really want to say thank you in advance to all of the newcomers who have agreed to share their unedited, uncensored reality story about what it actually is like to settle in Canada, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Awesome. So today we have an amazing guest. And we are also doing this topic around the idea that this weekend is Mother's Day, right? If you're a mother in the house, big up your whole self, drop some fire emojis, right? This particular live is catered towards the experience of motherhood with a twist, right? So the topic for today is, drum roll, I got pregnant while on a student permit. Right? So for my international students in the room, for all of my women who are international students who are within the ages of childbearing, this one is for you. This one is for you. Plan or unplanned. Once you do anything, it's possible, right? Once you do anything, it's possible. And we're going to be actually inviting our special guest speaker, Chrissy, into the house. Give us some fire emojis. Welcome, Chrissy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So it's Mother's Day this weekend, and we're so excited and so
Yes,
happy to have you come and tell the story.
thank
And as I
you.
was saying before we came on, once you do anything, the story can apply to you. Once you do anything,
Definitely, for
right?
sure.
So, Chrissy, the front is yours. The stage is yours. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Crystal. I go by Chrissy. Um, I am Jamaican. I came to Canada August of 2019. So this year will make August of 2018. See, I'm forgetting already. So this year will make 6 years since I've been here. I came here with my husband. We're no kids at the time when we came. Um, so yeah, since that day, it's been a journey in Canada. As Kelly's always says, the journey is a prize. And it
Mm-hmm.
truly is. Like since 2018, like we've gone through so much in our immigration journey, and finally, like we're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, for those who are thinking about immigrating or are on the journey, like be encouraged. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
After 6 years, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
She can confirm that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
I love it. So right before we went live, Christy and I was talking about like how sometimes you ask somebody for advice or how something was, and they don't really give you the real deal. Right? Because we were talking about like how a
Yeah.
story is, if there's anything she don't want to discuss. I'm just like, no, I'm gonna open book and go and tell people how it is because can you relate to them? She's like, I just ask
Yeah.
people things and sometimes you're not satisfied with the answer.
Or and not only not satisfied, but it's like people are scared, or I don't know if scared is even the word. They're hesitant to give you information. I don't know what the reason for that is, but I find like especially, I don't want to give the Caribbean a bad name, but especially I'm from Jamaica, right? So I know Caribbean people. So
Mm-hmm.
like in my experience, I find like people are not as forthcoming with information for whatever reason that might be.
Mm.
But yeah, whatever, as best as I can, if anyone asks me any question relating to immigration, I try my best to give like a clear picture of what life here in Canada is like.
Yeah, what you're saying is so true. I feel like if maybe it could be they don't want you to judge them, like because they don't want to tell you the bad stuff, don't you want to tell you like the good stuff,
Yeah,
right? Everybody want, like still look good in the eyes of others, or I don't know what it is, man. There's definitely something to discuss further in, but
yeah,
it's you we here to discuss today, right? So I want to start from the beginning. From the beginning, 6 years ago, why did you even think about immigration to start with? So what make you jump out yourself? Right?
I
And
know.
I seen a report recently saying that Jamaica has like such good tourism rates this year. I don't even know what was the figures, but it was like so amazing how much people visited Jamaica for over this past year. Well, within these first couple months of the year, right? So clearly everybody going to
Yeah.
Jamaica. So why you jump out your whole self to leave Jamaica with coconut water and the beaches and a cool Canada, right? Why? Tell us why.
Right. So for me, it's actually a little different because I left Jamaica when I was 18. I had a scholarship to the States for track because I ran track basically my whole life. So when I was leaving high school, I was fortunate enough to get a track scholarship to the States. And I was there for 5 years. But the thing with the States is they don't have, and I'm pretty sure you know, Kelly's like they don't have like the different immigration streams like we do here in Canada. It's basically either when you graduate university, you're in a STEM. I feel like is a easy field to get sponsored in. So you have to get like your job to, if you're fortunate enough to get a job after you graduate, to sponsor you, or you marry someone. Um, and I was in a very committed relationship at the time, so that wasn't gonna fly with my then boyfriend. So my mother-in-law was here, and she kind of convinced me to move to Canada because I was coming at the end of my work permit there, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't want to go back home because I had already been away for 5 years. Now I'm like not peak, but just beginning, adulthood. I don't want to go back home, live with my grandmother and all that stuff. So I wanted to step out on my own. She convinced me to come to Canada, and it was a good move.
So somebody in the comments saying like, "What happened? Everybody in Jamaica just run track and field over."
Not everybody, but
Like
most
what he
people.
said, why all they run track and field?
I mean, look, track got me a scholarship, paid my education through
Mm.
university. So if you're good at it, it's hard. If you're good at it, it's a good way, to level yourself up, I would say.
So you came to Canada. What was your first, and where in Canada do you live exactly?
Right now, I live in North York, but when I just in Ontario, North York, Ontario. When I just came, I was living in Scarborough.
I'm pretty soon you're gonna
Yeah,
be moving to Alberta.
don't even
Yeah,
remind
I like
me,
bloody spots. I like moving bloody spots.
girl. We're driving with two kids. I'm not looking forward to it, but yeah.
Yo, for real. You see, I was just
Yeah,
pulling your leg, I was just pulling your leg. Oh, look at that, Olia. We have claimed another one. We have claimed another
yeah.
Ontarian.
Gladly, gladly. Ontario is just, it's not for us anymore.
I love it. We go get into all of that. So here's my question for you. You moved to Ontario, but how exactly did you move? So what stream of immigration did you use to get here?
Yeah, so I came through the student route. I
Mm-hmm.
went to Seneca
Mm.
College, no, Newnham campus, and I studied sustainable business. So I did two one-year programs, courses. So I did HR and I did something called sustainable business management.
So you
And
did a
then
one
through
plus
that, yeah, 1+1, and then I was able to get the 3-year work permit after that.
Mm. So for, there's some persons on here who may not understand this concept, but if you do a 1 year program, you typically, this is just general rules here, right? Changing right now, we look at changes. So I'll just give an
Yeah,
overview, right? Generally, you get a 1 year postgraduate work permit, but if you do a 2 year program, you get like a 3 year postgraduate work permit. Of course, things are changing right now, but back then,
yeah,
that is exactly what you had in mind. So you did 2 years, 1+1, with the hopes of
right.
getting your postgraduate work permits.
Yeah, well, I went through when I put through my application, I actually applied for a 2-year program. And then
Mm.
after after it was approved, I didn't want to go to that school anymore, so I switched it up a little bit.
What was your
Yeah.
process like of switching schools? I didn't know this was part of your
It
story. This is
it wasn't
interesting.
hard. No, I didn't go to that school. Um, I
Mm.
applied and I got accepted, and then the
Gotcha.
application was put in with that acceptance letter.
I
So
understand.
I always, yeah.
I got you. So how was your time at Seneca? How was your program? You found it was easy? It was hard? How was your schoolwork? Similar to
It
that in Jamaica,
was,
US?
yeah, no, I've never been to, well, high school is different in Jamaica. I've never been to like a tertiary facility in Jamaica, but it's pretty similar, I would say, to college in the States. Like
Right.
not university per se, but college. The facilities were nice. That wasn't my first time, but it exceeded my expectations because I was living in a first world country before I came here. So um the facilities were nice. I found like it was very diverse. Like you had people from all over the world, which is something that I wasn't used to coming from the States. Um, the teachers were nice too. Like it was very diverse. Like that was the first time I was interacting with people from different parts of the world, not just black or white.
Right, right, got you.
Yeah.
And I have to ask, because it wouldn't be right if I don't ask you. How was the money? Because every time I hear about international students, it has always been the money. The money rolls eyes, the money.
Yeah.
How you make How you
So
do it? Where the money from?
if I am being honest, like I am a very lucky um, child, I would say, because before I came here, like I had to have that conversation with my mom because she
Mm,
didn't know like these were my plans, right? I graduated university. She didn't expect me to go back to school, right? So she agreed to help me with the tuition, and she did. I was also working part time to stand the because we could only do 20 hours, right? And my husband was working full time, so it was a joint effort from every
mm.
you hear it takes a village, it takes a village.
Yep.
Like it was a joint effort from everyone to
Everybody
pay
chipping,
that
chipping, chipping.
tuition. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So now we had a foundation. Right? Somebody asking about how long it took you to get a job. We'll get to that. You get to that. For those of you who have heard
Yeah.
Chrissy's story before, I'm gonna tell all you. We have so much more to update all you on, right? We have so much more to update
Yeah.
all you. Since I didn't even want to spill the beans. I didn't want to spill the beans. So you come to Canada on a student permit. You wasn't married at the time.
I was.
You got married. When exactly
Yeah,
did
we
you get
got
married?
married right like the day before I came. The day before I came here, we got married.
Lovely. And at what
Yeah.
point in time did you realize you were pregnant?
You know what? When did I realize I was pregnant? I was still going to school. I think I was in my not my last. I was in my last year, so I was doing the HR program, but like the last part of my first last semester. No, the last part of the first. I can't
The
remember.
last
This
part of
was so
your
long
first
ago.
semester.
The last year, the last program I was doing, the last part of that first semester. So that was like December, right around the time when COVID came in. So that was like
Right,
November, December, January, kind of.
right,
Because I
right.
remember in my last semester, I was pregnant. That was January. And then we had to stop going to school because COVID, we were doing online classes and all that stuff. So I was almost graduated, but not yet.
So, how did you feel when you found out that you were pregnant?
I mean, I was scared because at the time it wasn't planned. We weren't expecting to get pregnant so soon. Um, and at the time, we weren't like our living arrangements weren't the best to accommodate a child at that time. So we really had to sit down um, and, put things in place, like get things in order. We had to move out from the house that we were living in, find like more suitable accommodations, that one that we could bring a child into. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm being honest, I was really scared because I didn't have like OHIP at the time. I didn't know anything about, now I know, like after the fact, I didn't know anything about like other resources. I just thought like once you don't have OHIP, you're screwed because I know like the healthcare system here is free. Once you're not like either a PR or citizen, like you don't have access to that. But that's not true. There are
Mm,
lots of resources, lots of, facilities that will accommodate people who are either undocumented or international students or whatever position you find yourself in, there is a resource out there for you. I didn't know that at the time.
mm. So you didn't know about the resources and
Yep.
you just found out you're pregnant. You have to move in a foreign country. You probably don't have like family. You have your husband there, but
Yeah.
I know, like I don't
Yeah,
know.
no.
It's the same in Jamaica, but when you're pregnant as a woman, the women in your family tend to huddle around. It doesn't even matter if you and them just get along or not. They just
Yeah.
oh bad vibes are just rough and they just come to support you, right? Like it's like
Yeah, it
tradition
was like that at
on this
first.
pregnancy, you know?
Remember I tell you my mom was helping with the tuition too. So even though I was basically an adult at this point, like for whatever reason, she thought that I would have to stop going to school. I don't know where she got that idea from. But she thought I had to stop going to school, then have the baby, then continue. And I was like, Mom, no, this is Canada. Like women who are pregnant go to school, women who are pregnant work. Like nothing stopping over here. I could still go to school, graduate, still stay on the right path. But yeah, no, I was very scared. If I'm being honest. Like a lot of things were uncertain around at that time. COVID came in, I had to stop working. It was now like my husband was only the only um provider for us. That was hard
Mhm.
given like all the uncertainties around COVID. It was just a lot. And then
Mm,
with the border restrictions, no one was allowed to travel. So it's not like my mom could come and help. No, like no one could come and help. We were essentially stuck, just the two of us. And we had to either figure it, fight or flight. That's basically what it was. We had to
mm,
figure it out and like fast.
mm. So I want to go into OHIP, which is like the Ontario insurance, right? And I think
Mhm.
like if many people don't really understand when they're thinking about immigration, they don't understand that each province has its own system for how it deals with insurance. So what applies in
Right.
Ontario when apply in Alberta. In Ontario, when you land, you have like a 3 month period that you could get before you could get it. That doesn't apply in Alberta. And then there are different
Mm.
rules. So all of the information that Christy's about to give us, about OHIP,
Oh
about
yeah.
insurance, all of those things. Very specific. I used to say this, very specific to the province of Ontario, and it may not apply to your
Yeah.
province. All right. So tell us about your perceptions of OHIP. And I know you're not a professional insurance agent or anything like that, but the information that you discovered after going through a pregnancy as an international student. And then we'll go into the actual pregnancy story. All right. So tell us about your perceptions, how your thoughts about it before, and what are some of the things that you discovered along the way?
Um, so I can talk now because I have a second son who he just turned 1 in January. So like my first pregnancy and my second pregnancy were like completely different because with my second son I now had OHIP, so I was able to basically go through the pregnancy without thinking about anything. Um, Everything was covered by insurance, which was like I've never seen that because even I have friends who are back home when they tell me like the cost of hospital and doctor's visits and all that stuff, it's basically a nightmare. Like to see that I was able to give birth again, where I was covered by the province health insurance, and like I didn't pay 1 cent out of pocket. Like I don't know where else in the world they have that, but yeah, it was amazing. Like completely night and day. Like I wasn't worried about anything. Like everything was just covered. Like once you have that little health insurance card, you're basically good to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then how was the experience with the first time when you didn't have it?
The first time when I found out I was pregnant, I went to the walk-in clinic to get like blood work done, and that's how I found out. And then they tried to recommend me to an OB. Every number that I called on that list, they asked me if I had OHIP, if I had health insurance. And when I said no, they were like, sorry, we can only accept people with OHIP. But I remembered when I was coming here, like we had to have health insurance as an international student. And so I remembered that I went to the clinic at Seneca, where I was going to school, and the doctor there, they had an OB there, luckily for me, and she recommended me to another OB who accepted the school's health insurance, and that's how I was able. But most things, um, for like ultrasounds and little checks that I had to get, some of those things weren't 100% covered by that insurance, so I was still paying out of pocket for some things.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that there are resources for persons who are undocumented, for persons who are international students. Didn't
Mhm.
you know about those resources at that time?
I did not know anything. You know, when you're in like a state of panic and you don't know what to do, you don't, and then I don't know a lot of people here in Canada. Like, I would tell anyone now, no matter what situation you're in, the internet is your friend. Like, get on your
Mhm.
phone. We use our phones for so many things. Get on your phone and look up what it is that you need to know. I wasn't doing that. I didn't do that. And so, like, when I was pregnant, just the hospital fee alone would have been close to 5 grand. If it wasn't for COVID, I would have had to foot the cost of that. Luckily,
Mm,
thanks to the government, they made provisions for like I guess people who were stuck in the country at that time, like they were just taking care of all the bills. And I fell under that category of people who were stuck. So that's how I got away without paying that 5 grand for the hospital fee. But I would say like research things that you want to know, ask questions. If you don't think the person will answer you, ask anyway. Like the least they can say is no. Reach out to people and yeah, ask questions, because I didn't do that and I was in like a state of panic for my whole pregnancy.
mm. Do you know any of those organizations off the top of your mind? I know this is like what, 4 years ago. So you may not know any of them. I
I don't
know
remember.
that.
I know I think it's called Planned Parenthood, they have resources available for people who are undocumented. I can't remember them now, but
Some information, I'll probably post it to the stories after. And I
yeah,
also know if you get a midwife, they're able to come home and
right.
do delivery as well. So, like many international students, undocumented persons, if you get pregnant, they usually just rely on midwives. But the thing about a midwife, the number one requirement is that they wouldn't really come to an apartment. They will come to a home. Has to be somewhere that kind of secluded. So, because remember, you'll be bawling, you'll
Hmm.
screaming, you'll be, anything could happen, right? And then for midwives, I know one of the requirements as well is that if you had a failed pregnancy before or a difficult pregnancy before, or
No.
if it's your first pregnancy as well, sometimes they're hesitant if it's your first pregnancy. So they want it to be like a second pregnancy, and your first pregnancy should have gone over without any major hiccups. Because what they're thinking is if you had a bad pregnancy before, the
Hmm.
likelihood of you having another bad pregnancy is high. So if you had a C-section, your first pregnancy, the likelihood of your second pregnancy and then C-section is like
Yeah,
through the roof high. So they'll be very hesitant to take on that type of case, right? So we also need to talk
right.
about like those other organizations. So now, how was your particular birthing experience? How was your pregnancy? You was going to school. It was in the middle of COVID, and you had
Mm,
to stay home for part of it. Tell us more about that.
yeah. The pregnancy it was good. I would say like at the beginning when I was still like I had to commute like pregnancy symptoms, it was a lot. But once that's why I tell everyone like COVID, sorry to the people like that passed away during COVID, but it was a blessing in disguise for me because I got to stay home. I was literally in bed, like attending classes. Everything went online. Um, the government made provisions for people who weren't able to travel, which benefited me like a lot. But the pregnancy in itself was good. Once I got to that OB who was able to accept my school's health insurance, I would say it was smooth sailing from there. The only tricky part that tripped me up was the hospital bill that I didn't know until the day of I was giving birth that the government would actually cover that. So yeah, I had to be prepared to pay 5 grand upon delivering my child, but thank God that wasn't the case.
So you
But
went to
yeah,
the
it's
hospital with 5 grand in your bank account, right? You save up all your pennies, all
yeah.
your coins. Mommy home vex no pay. Mommy home vex because mommy gave you money to come here, study your books,
Yeah,
and yeah, with a whole picnic. You make it.
right.
Mommy gave you money
Exactly.
to go and study, right?
Yeah.
So everybody had to pitch in. You're prepared to pay 5,000. And
Hmm.
then that was the actual delivery.
That was scary, I would say, because being in the hospital, it was okay, I would say. Like the doctors were nice, the nurses were nice. Like my OB actually didn't end up delivering my son, but even the obstetricians that they had on call, like North York General Hospital is where I gave birth. So like this, it's one of the best hospitals in Canada. And just to
Mm.
see that I was able to get like the best care without any form of government insurance, that in and of itself, like they could have turned me away. Well, I don't know if legally they were allowed to do that, but seeing as I wasn't a citizen or a PR, like no one frowned upon me. I was accepted. Like there were no discrimination. Everything went smoothly from I arrived until I left. My son actually came out. When he came out, he wasn't breathing, and just like how they treated it, like because it was an emergency. They treated him like he was the only kid in the hospital. Like I only saw doctors and nurses like swarming in the room. Like he was given the best care. I have no complaints. Kelly's
The
was
mothers in the
traumatized.
room. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's because it's Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah.
This emotional, like, I don't know, boy. I don't know. You see, going into childbirth is such a risky business. It's risky for you, it's risky for the baby, it's
It
risky,
is.
right? The things we as women just have to go through to bring life into
Yeah.
this world.
What I also forgot to say too, like around maybe 7.5, close to 8 months, like I had, what is that called? Like a little tear in the placenta, and I was like I just started bleeding out of nowhere, and I was able to go to the hospital at that point to like a whole 3 day stay in the hospital, and I didn't pay a cent. I don't know if it was COVID or what it was, but yeah, Canada is like the healthcare here is amazing. That's one thing I can't take away from this country.
Hmm. So you're in hospital, baby born, a bit of an
Mhm.
emergency. I mean, not even a bit, that's a big emergency. Baby not
Yeah,
breathing, but I'm sure because everything turned out okay. That must have been
yeah,
so traumatic. And then on top of that, expecting to have to pay $5,000 out of
right.
pocket. How did you
Yeah.
feel when you realized you wouldn't have to pay the money?
Man, I was so relieved because the whole time I was giving birth, that was like in the back of my mind. Yeah, like I was going through this process, but I want to say like we didn't even have 6 grand good in our like bank accounts because remember at this point my husband was the only one working like day and night. He's working to support us get the things that we need for our new addition to the family, as well as like footing the cost, rent, bills, like all the existing bills that we had. Um, yeah, it was I would say it wasn't thinking back, like it was a lot giving birth, not knowing like how the what am I trying to say? It was a lot on our plate at the time. Like
It
just
kind
the
of takes
finances of
away.
everything. Yeah,
It
from the
takes away
moment.
from the beauty of the moment, right? Because if you were
Yeah.
in pain, like childbirth is probably one of the most painful things in the world. But you know what hurts it more? The money you had to pay that you don't even know how you
Yeah,
paid it. And it's so painful. It's on the top of your mind even as you're giving birth.
right. But thankfully, like I said, shortly after they came and they told me that we wouldn't have to, because after you give birth, like you're in a room by yourself, and then they bring you to the recovery ward, like they bring you all the paperwork and all that stuff. They disclosed to me then that I wouldn't actually have to pay like the fee. At
I
that
would have been
point, I could
crying.
relax. At that point, I could relax.
Oh God, oh God.
At
Listen,
that
I'm
point, my
married, so I
mind
don't
was
know
at ease.
what to tell. Like, oh God, you don't know.
Yeah.
Oh God. I would have been so relieved.
Yeah, it was a lot going on because like during COVID, they weren't allowing any visitors. Like my husband could only stay for the birth of my son, and then he had to leave. So it was only me and the baby going back to recovery. Like it was just a lot of information, a lot of things that you have to do. Then after you give birth, you have to sign up for baby health card. Um, like it's just a lot
Yeah,
to
because
to
you's
go
not a
through.
PR, you not a
Yeah,
citizen, but baby's a citizen. Baby,
yeah. That too. Like I was even thinking about that. I'm like, here I am, like in this country as a student, and now I gave birth to this child who has better benefits than me now. But
I mean,
that's
good and bad, right? It's like when the baby in my
yeah,
stomach, or they can't fit the bill, but as soon as this child pop out now, it's like, oh,
right.
precious. Like, was it difference in here and here?
Yeah.
That is interesting. That is so interesting. So someone in the comments said they were surprised that your school didn't offer any resources because you would have had to have insurance through your school.
Hmm.
right? But I think so. Explain to us if that applied, if it ever came up, right? And then they were saying that they was expecting the school to be more supportive, but I think like everybody was running around like headless chickens during that time because
Yeah,
no one was focusing on anything. Everybody was trying to just figure out policies, wear masks, who coming to school, who not coming to school. If you're coming to school, if you're getting
right,
credit to school, remember they had the policy where you had to be physically in class to get your postgraduate work permits. The schools was like, if I
right.
could
It was
remember, it was
crazy. Like a lot of new policies, a
chaotic.
lot of new everything was going on. But I would say like the OB at Seneca, she was really nice. I was going to her for about, I would say up to 8 weeks. Um, so strictly for the first 8 weeks, or was it up to 3 months? I don't remember. But basically for the first trimester of my period, that's where I was going to get like my checkups and at school, like at the health facility at my school. She's the one who found the OB or the doctor's accept the insurance that I had. So I would say that she did help me like as best as she could. She made
Mm,
sure to find a doctor who would I wouldn't have to pay much like to cover the cost of visits and whatnot. Like, yeah, they did help me. I can't say they didn't.
gotcha. But just, I think maybe they help with the information because this is a topic that people very rarely like to cover, especially in our official
Hmm.
capacity. But there are a lot of undocumented people in Canada, and I'm not talking about international
Yep.
students. I'm talking about people who just came and undocumented, have no status,
Yeah.
overstayed the
Years.
time, right? Like, what happens to those people? What happened to those women? What happens to those people?
Yeah.
All right, it's all well and good to say, oh, you should be doing things the official way, but okay, I'm pregnant now, and what happening? There must be because when the share born, the share is a Canadian citizen. So,
Yeah,
what happening to
exactly.
me?
That's what I love. Well, I guess there are rules and laws and policies in place for a reason, but I never understood that part. Like I give birth to a child in this country, but the child is okay, but the mother is not. If the
Mm,
mother is undocumented, I never understood that part. But
mm.
like I
But
said, there are
like,
resources out there
there are
that are
resources, yeah,
available. Yeah,
because you have to
you
have
just will
them.
have to dig and find the information.
Yeah, you have to have them because everybody is like a human right, a
Yeah,
basic human right, right? So yeah, that's sending me on a whole wild goose chase. I'm going to find those organizations because I know that there are
I
organizations that primarily with undocumented people.
yeah, I do have a friend too. Like she lives in Brampton. She came back, she went to school, she applied for her postgrad work permit, but she was pregnant before she got either before she applied or before she got the approval for the postgrad work permit. She was pregnant, she gave birth to her son. She actually went through, I think it was a community center in her community where she lives. They referred her to a midwife who then I think that midwife works with a doctor at I think it's Brampton Civic. So she was able to give birth without paying anything and she was out of
Mm,
status at the time. So
right,
that's how
because
I know like there are resources.
in between,
Yeah.
because there are many reasons why someone could be out of status. That's the next thing we're not talking about. It's not just somebody landing and then the overstay the time,
Mhm.
they cross the body illegally. There are many reasons. Sometimes people just in between status, but technically you're out of status, right? So there are many ways how, unfortunate as it could be, you could end up out of status even if you did
Yeah.
everything right. Right? There's no fault of your own, but you did everything right, and circumstances just happened at the out of status, right? So, Chrissy, since then, right? You carry home baby boy, daddy happy, everything good, everything work out, God shine a light on you, you get to keep your $5,000, right? I would be crying,
Yes.
crying coming out. All right. But how was life after that? Because now
Life
you
after
graduate
that
from
was
school, right?
yeah. Yeah, and
Mm,
there was no graduation. So it's not like I came home with baby, big hurrah graduation because COVID. But life after that was very isolated. I was very isolated. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't go to grocery stores because I just had a newborn. Everything was shut down, social distancing. My husband was working day and night, so not that he didn't help when he was home, but I was basically alone with a newborn by myself because
First child.
no one could come visit my first child. Like the postpartum depression kicked in heavy. Like I was so sad. I was alone all the time. Um, no help. It was just like the most I could do is talk to people on WhatsApp. And I,
Mm,
I actually had a cousin who had a baby like around the same time as me. So we would keep each other's company, but it was a lonely time. Like
mm.
as much as I should have been celebrating, I just graduated, like new baby, all that. But it was very lonely for me.
I feel like that's something people don't really talk about a lot, right? Postpartum depression. I had it bad too. When I had my two kids, both of them.
Uh,
Every single, which is why I know I ain't having no more children. It was so horrible. It was so horrible. Like you're watching a child, it's
yeah,
supposed to feel like it's the best time in the world, and I just watch each other and crying. I just crying. I just crying. Like I just
yeah,
crying. It's not like this blissful, beautiful thing like what you see in the movies or even like what people describe. I just crying.
yeah,
You watch yourself in the mirror, the belly just ain't going down, your mother band in your belly, so I
yeah.
just crying. Like I would
And
never
that's
be beautiful
true.
again. It's horrible.
That's true.
Horrible.
Like, and I feel like it hit me harder because I come from a big family. I'm used to being a lot around a lot of people. Like we live in one yard, like different houses. Like my whole family is at one place. And just being here in Canada was just my husband and me. And like I didn't have any support. Like I wouldn't see anyone. Like Christmas came around, everyone was together back home, and I was here stuck with baby and my husband. Like COVID times, it was a blessing, but I don't want to go back there at all. Like
Mm,
everything was on lockdown. Like that's how I felt like I was on lockdown.
mm. But we see any picture behind this thing here. We just see it, we just glimpse the picture. Clearly,
Yes.
you went back. You went back.
I know it wasn't bad enough. I guess I went back for round two.
Listen, the thing this be so sweet. You just forget all about it. We talk, oh, I'm
Clearly,
crying. Oh, it was so horrible. Yet your belly big again.
right?
Tell me, make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Yes, one day is what yourself after like,
That's
what's
that's the
wrong with
thing we
me?
do,
Oh,
man.
I feel again. Oh, I feel again.
Exactly. I had,
But
I had some time
number
to
two.
between between the two. I think that's what it was. I had too much free time.
They can't leave me alone. Max said they can't leave me
Yeah.
alone. The man, we can't leave me alone. Only can't leave me alone.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. So it was 2 years in between the two of them.
Two and a half. Yeah.
And a half. So tell us about that
Yeah.
time period. So right after the pregnancy, baby blues, feeling horrible, COVID, but then COVID came and passed. How
Yeah.
did life change for you all within that time? This is good because it's giving us a timeline of after school, new parents in
Right.
Canada, international student now on postgraduate work permit. How was that
Mm.
transition?
So after I graduated, I applied for my postgrad work permit like right away. Um, I got that, and then I just started applying for jobs because just my personality, I couldn't sit, like everything went to online. Everyone was working from home. Like no one was going into work anymore. So I started looking for jobs. I was like, that's perfect for me. Like new baby, I could work from home, like maybe get a part-time job when he's sleeping. I can log into that and whatnot. And that's what I did. So when he was around 4 months, I got a job working like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that was perfect for me. I got him into, I don't know, for whatever reason, I felt like my son was feeling lonely. He needed like human interaction outside of me. So I put him into daycare for a couple hours of the day. That was like right across the street from where we live, just so he could get like play with other kids and stuff. And then I would go get him and then put him to sleep, and I would go to work from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that was my schedule for a while, until was it, I want to say 2021 or 2022 January, I went full time, same company, same remote work. I started working full time again. For those of you who may know me from YouTube, I was doing YouTube for a little while, but that's why I stopped because I started working full time. I couldn't juggle so many things. So yeah, so now I'm working full time as a billing coordinator. Submitted my PR application during that whole transition, and I everything is basically finalized now. So we're on the road to becoming permanent residents after 6 long years. But yeah, yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you.
How does it feel to how does it feel?
You know what? Like I was watching your live. It's funny you did a live on this the other day. You were talking about um the journey when you go through things, the process, how the process is more like overwhelming than when the thing that you're waiting on actually comes through. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I would be like over the moon, excited, backflip, all that. But I mean, I am relieved. It is a huge burden off my shoulders. Like, there's
It's just
so
like
many more
mm-hmm.
things that are accessible to us now, like now that we're permanent residents. But it's, I don't know. I feel so like
Just
I don't know
love
if it's
that.
because
Yeah, when you're wishing and thinking about something, you just feel better than
yeah,
when you actually do it, you just be like, okay, cool. This is what it is. Well,
yes,
gotcha.
it's like finally, but yeah, what's the next thing? Like
Yeah.
now that so many doors are now opening up for us with this new status that we've gained, like what are we gonna do next?
And that is how we're going to end off. Because right now it is 17 minutes past the hour. And we have a hard stop in like the next couple of minutes. Yeah. So
7:30.
what is next? What is next for you? That's what we want to know.
What is next? We have plans. Like I said, like I'm very honest, like we were doing this on our own. So we did acquire a few debts here and there, like just immigration in general. So now we're moving to Edmonton because, like, I don't know what's going on with the world, but inflation and the price of everything has gone up. I feel like
Mhm.
here in Ontario specifically, like everything is just so expensive. But the plan is we're moving to Edmonton to kind of get back on our feet. My mother-in-law is there. She bought a house, so we're making the move with our kids to, get back on our feet, save some money, take a breather, allow people to help us for a change. Yeah, like my husband's family is there. His mom is there. His niece, nephew, or kids will have their cousins. Like it's time for the next chapter now. Like we're tired of
Mm,
struggling. Like we don't have to struggle and fight anymore. We're just looking forward to moving on.
I love that. Allow people to help you. Huh.
Yeah.
That was subtle, but that is so powerful. Allow people to help you. So, do you have to give us the exact date? But like, when exactly you plan to move? Like for me, I want to know. Like this year, next year, like
No, no,
when
no.
can I?
Very soon. We're looking to move like end of July. Like it's happening.
Okay, all right, that's it. That's it. I've claimed another one for Alberta earlier. I need to start keeping score. I need to- But Chrissy,
Yeah, we'll
thank you
be
so
there.
much. Thank you so
I
much for
just want
sharing
to say if
your story.
anyone is on here that has moved or made that, because we're planning to drive, if you've made that move from Ontario to Alberta, please let me know tips, tricks, stops where you stayed, like all the jazz, please. I need help.
Don't worry, I got you. This is what UpRow is for. I got you. I got
Yes.
you, Chrissy. You. I got
Thank you. I
you.
need I need all the
Right?
information.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so in closing, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Yeah, I would have done a lot of things differently. Instead of relying on myself, I would have done more research. I
Mm,
feel like that is the key. talk to people, hear people's experiences, hear what worked, what didn't work. um, you don't know what you don't know until you realize that you don't know it. And sometimes that might be to your detriment. And one thing we know about Canada, like, and the immigration journey, like, if you slip, like, you slide. So you want to make sure, like, you have all the information that's available. Don't leave any stones unturned. If you're second guessing something, don't move on until you're sure. Like, just get that's one thing I would change. Like, research more, make sure I know everything there's to know about my next steps before I make the next steps.
And for those of you who are still confused or looking at the research, you're looking at the mountains of information, definitely visit UpRow.ca for all of your
Yeah.
immigration and needs. Awesome. And then in closing, the second closing, what advice would you give for persons who are pregnant and they are international students?
That is a tough one. I would say, because I think it is a requirement to have health insurance when
Mm-hmm.
you, yeah, I think that's a requirement. I would say go to your school health center, like, check with them, because there are chances, like, everyone knows, like, international students are a big resource for Canada. Like, there's 100% chance that they have the information that you're looking for. I'm available. I'm a resource. I can point you in the right direction if I can answer your question. UpRow is here. There's a lot of qualified people who are
Mm-hmm.
on this platform. Reach out to people, but I would say the first stop is check with the health center at your school.
Solid advice. And then, what
Yeah.
advice would you give for persons who are thinking about coming to Canada? So they're thinking about it, people. A couple of persons on this live are in the process. They probably got the
Yeah.
application approved, they're landing. I see a couple of people on Instagram who I know they're landing in the next like 30 days. What advice would
Yeah.
you give to that person?
I would say make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Plan, plan. Like, have a plan, have a backup plan, have a next backup plan, because, like, in a minute things can go wrong. Like, we can have another pandemic and then you're thrown for a loop. Always
Mm,
have a plan. Um, Finances are a big thing here. Like, you just have to plan financially, like, think everything through. There's no stone that you should leave unturned if you're thinking about immigrating to Canada. Like, there's a
mm,
bunch of resources here. People are here who are willing to give you information if you ask. Um, but yeah, reach out to people. Like I said before, make sure you have everything planned to the T. Like, if this doesn't work out, what am I gonna do? What if I come? If I plan to come on a visitor's visa and transfer, if that doesn't work out, what am I gonna do? Like, you have to think everything through from start to finish, before you make the move.
And for persons who would like to think about or like to plan out their financial progress in Canada, definitely go to upper.ca, go to the finances tab, and in there you would see that Financial Coaches Canada is offering a free call to budget and map out your financial plan as a newcomer. Right? You know that it was very important for persons to have that plan, to not be making those mistakes, to potentially avoid debt if possible. I mean, that is not always bad, right? There's some good debt, there's some
Right.
things worth taking on in debt, right? But to kind of mitigate the process a bit more and to help you to plan ahead. So definitely head to upper.ca, download the app, head to the finances tab, and book that free call today. And with that being said, Chrissy, thank you so much. We appreciate you. We love you. We love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you.
for also giving us the true story, not just sugarcoating things, not making it
No,
seem nice, but it really is. She gave us the real deal gems. We appreciate you so much for the good, the bad, the ugly version of how the experience was. And happy Mother's Day to you.
thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you and all the moms who are tuned in. I hope you guys have a relaxing day, and whatever it is, send the kids to their dads. Like, no, don't answer any questions. on Sunday. Go ask your dad. He also got a shirt with that.
It's like, what do you want for Mother's Day? Bye.
Yeah. No,
Peace
not
and
even.
quiet.
Peace and quiet. That's it. No
I
telling
love
me,
it.
Mom, no, no, I don't want it.
I love it. Thank you very, very much. So we say have people saying congratulations,
Thank you.
congratulations. We have so many people saying congratulations, don't give up. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Chrissy. I'm going to take you off now, and we will definitely get another update on Chrissy when she becomes getting official PR, maybe in a year or two when she
Yes,
moves to Edmonton. Or they could probably
that's
see
very
Chrissy in the
soon.
stories. Man, meet together. Yeah. She don't party and stuff all that. She give her life to God. So
Yes,
never I
yes,
mean
yes.
don't worry, I got you. I got you. All right. All right,
Thank you.
Chrissy.
Thank
Thank
you for having me.
you. And there we have it. This was our first landing life after landing episode. What did you all think? What did you all think? Right? I am so excited about this entire initiative. Is going to be here live on the UpRow channel. So if you're not following UpRow, you missed out. Unfortunately, share this with persons who are thinking about coming to Canada. Share this with somebody who probably is pregnant right now and not sure what to do, right? Share this with as much people as possible. And remember, the journey is the prize. Look out for details about our next episode coming soon. Take care, guys. Bye.